Let's get right into it. Number 7. The original pick-me-up with a secret ingredient. In 1886, pharmacist Dr. John Pemberton mixed up something interesting in his backyard. He called it Coca-Cola, but the version he created wasn't the same soda you know today. The original formula actually included coca leaf extract, and with it, around 9 milligrams of cocaine per glass. People drank it as a medicinal tonic, a quick energy booster, and even a cure for common ailments. And back then, that wasn't considered strange. Many medicines contained similar ingredients. In fact, the name Coca-Cola came from its two key components, coca leaves and cola nuts, which naturally contain caffeine. But by the early 1900s, public attitudes and health regulations began to change. To stay ahead, the Coca-Cola Company partnered with a New Jersey firm that developed a process to remove the cocaine from the coca leaves while keeping the flavor. That's how this pharmacy concoction evolved into the iconic caffeine-packed soda we know and love today. Number 6. The knockout gas party tricks. In the 1800s, fancy Victorian parties weren't all waltzes and tea. Some featured a much wilder attraction, gas parties. Yes, really, people would gather not to dance, but to inhale mind-altering vapors for fun. Wealthy guests filled theaters to watch volunteers breathe in substances like ether and nitrous oxide, aka laughing gas. The results? Absolute chaos. People burst into uncontrollable laughter, danced like maniacs, or simply collapsed on the floor unconscious. What started as entertainment turned into accidental science experiments. Volunteers often injured themselves while under the influence, yet felt no pain. That odd detail caught the attention of doctors who happened to be in the crowd. Of course, it wasn't exactly safe. Ether was highly flammable, and mixing it with rooms full of oil lamps led to more than a few singed eyebrows. Or worse, they even used elegant glass globes to dispense the vapors like a Victorian fog machine, except instead of setting the mood, it could knock you out cold. But here's the twist. These bizarre party antics actually paved the way for a huge medical breakthrough. The same gases that made partygoers collapse laughing would later be used as the first surgical anesthetics. Number 5. The floor cleaner you gargle. Imagine gargling with the same stuff people once used to mop their floors. That's exactly what you're doing when you use Listerine. Back in 1879, a chemist named Joseph Lawrence created this powerful antiseptic. He named it after Sir Joseph Lister, who was basically the rock star of surgical cleanliness at the time. But initially, they had no idea what to do with it. So they started marketing it for literally everything. A splash for cuts, a cleaner for dirty floors, a deodorant for sweaty armpits, even a cure for dandruff and other intimate problems. It was like they were playing product roulette with this stuff. But then someone had a brilliant idea. They invented halitosis, a fancy medical term for bad breath. Suddenly, people were terrified of having bad breath without even realizing it. And just like that, a floor cleaner became the thing you swish around in your mouth every morning. So next time you're gargling away, just remember, you're basically rinsing your mouth with something that was once considered good enough to clean your bathroom floor. Number 4. The human hamster wheel of punishment. In 1818, a British engineer named Sir William Cubitt invented a giant hamster wheel for humans. It was a massive wooden cylinder lined with steps, basically an endless staircase to nowhere. Prisoners were locked into individual compartments along the wheel, unable to even speak to one another. They had to keep climbing 6 hours a day, 15 minutes at a time with only tiny breaks. And the worst part, the wheel didn't actually do anything. It could have been used to grind grain or pump water, but most of the time, it just spun. It was designed to be completely pointless, soul-crushing work meant to break prisoners' spirits. The idea caught on fast, spreading to prisons in Britain, Ireland, Australia, and America. But the effects were brutal. Many prisoners developed serious health issues from the relentless climbing hernias, lung damage, and injuries that sometimes lasted for life. Even Charles Dickens wrote about these punishment wheels, using them to highlight the cruelty of the prison system. Eventually, the wheels were banned when society realized that torture isn't great for rehabilitation. So next time you're sweating on a treadmill, just remember, at least you can step off when you want to. Number 3. The devil's pitchfork for your plate. Imagine sitting down to eat your dinner in medieval Europe with nothing but your hands. That's how everyone ate back then. Until one day a fancy new tool showed up and caused absolute chaos. The fork might seem harmless now, but back then, it was seen as pure evil. When this pointy little tool first appeared in Europe, people lost their minds. It all started when a Byzantine princess brought her golden two-pronged fork to Venice. She just wanted to eat her sticky fruits without getting her fingers messy, but the locals weren't having it. Religious leaders actually claimed the fork was a tool of evil. They said God gave us hands for eating, so using a fork was basically spitting in God's face. The design didn't help either. Early forks had 3 prongs, which looked suspiciously like the devil's pitchfork. People literally thought using a fork was like having dinner with the devil himself, and if you dared to use one, you were labeled as too fancy, corrupted by exotic Eastern influences. Some people who used forks actually ended up dead, not because forks killed them, but because food poisoning was super common back then. When the princess who introduced the fork died of disease years later, people saw it as divine punishment. The fork had to fight for about 600 years before people finally accepted it. It took 6 centuries for people to stop thinking their cutlery was cursed. Number 2. The devil's own pocket Firesticks. Imagine holding something in your pocket that glows an eerie green in the dark. In the 1800s, people carried matches that literally gave off a ghostly light. These weren't regular matches. They were made with white phosphorus, a substance so strange it seemed magical. The workers who made these matches, especially the dippers who coated the sticks, paid a horrible price. White phosphorus doesn't just glow, it's super toxic. The fumes would seep into their bodies, especially their jaws. Their teeth would fall out, their jawbones would rot away, their damaged bones would actually glow in the dark. Imagine looking in the mirror and seeing your own jaw give off a faint green light. Some workers had to have parts of their jaws surgically removed just to stop the spread. They were literally carrying around tiny sticks of poison that could burst into flame at the slightest touch. Think about that the next time you strike a modern match. That simple action used to cost people their faces. Eventually, people realized carrying these toxic glowing sticks wasn't a great idea. By the early 1900s, they switched to safer materials. But for decades, people were literally walking around with a piece of the devil's chemistry set in their pockets. Number 1. Serial killers of desire. Back in the early 1900s, the Kellogg brothers were on a mission to make the blandest food possible. They believed that spicy or flavorful food made people too excited, so they created cornflakes. The original version was so bland it could make cardboard taste like cake, and they weren't alone in this weird crusade. Reverend Sylvester Graham invented the graham cracker for the same reason. This guy was so anti-flavor, he probably thought water was too spicy. His original graham crackers? Basically edible sandpaper. No sugar, no honey, just pure, joyless wheat. Both of these foods completely failed at their original purpose. Instead of killing desire, they just killed people's desire to eat them. Eventually, companies started adding sugar and other flavors to make them actually enjoyable. Now we've got Frosted Flakes, honey graham crackers, and about 1 million sugary spin-offs. Imagine explaining to these guys that their anti-pleasure foods became the foundation of kids' favorite treats. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.